Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Bhagavatam Namami Bhagavatam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyato Vande Bhagavanto Ishvaro Gururatmeke Murtideva Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Pathaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Grafika Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitavrtavarshini Bhagavatim Ashtanashadyayini Ambattvamanusandadhami Bhagavat Gite Bhavadeshini Yam Brahma Varvendra Rudramabha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Devai Sangapadakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Jnanavasthitadadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yasyantanna Vidusura Swaganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. We're in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 19th verse, Lord Krishna says, let us read that verse number 19. On page 109. Bahunam janmanamante Jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti Samahatma sudurlabha. Lord Krishna described his devotees, fourfold devotees, Lord Krishna said, Chaturvidha bhajante mam janaha sukritanarjuna. Here Arjuna sukritinaha janaha mam bhajante. Those people, sukritinaha, whose nature has become to perform only virtuous actions. Punya karmana, those people who perform punya karma, virtuous deeds, mam bhajante, they worship me. So who are those in whom the bhakti, the devotion to the Lord arises? Or what should we do for the devotion to arise in our heart? Lord Krishna says, Punya karmana, those who perform punya karma, virtuous deeds. So punya karma, to perform a virtuous action, an action that is in keeping with the right values, right attitudes, it requires me to overcome any tendencies I may have to violate the values, to take the shortcut, to do what I like rather than what is right. Those options are often available to us in many situations as to whether do I do what is right or what I like. And therefore, to do what is right, it is necessary to overcome my impulse to do what I like, what may be beneficial to me. So, punya karamana, people who are devoted to the dharma, to virtue, who is devoted to performing virtuous actions, they have to subdue their impulse of doing what is convenient, what may be personally beneficial. That kind of a impulse has to be subdued to make sure that I do what is right, even though it may be something that I do not like. And that's the reason why this punya karma progressively enables me to overcome my impulses of violating the values, of doing what I like. And thus the likes and then the dislikes are also progressively overcome. What I like versus what is right. If I am committed to do what is right, in many cases it may not be what I like. Therefore, I have to overcome the impulse of like and then what is like. So punya karma, when what we call the virtuous action, the dharma, requires me to overcome my impulses of likes and dislikes. Punya karma. And thus this simple act of punya karma, doing what is right, what is virtuous, what is in keeping with the values, that becomes a means of purification of my mind. Because the impulse of likes and dislikes has to be subdued for doing what is right. And so, punya karmanas, chaturveda bhajanteman jana sukrutino jana sukrutina punya karmana. Those whose nature it is to perform virtuous actions. Actions in keeping with dharma. Their heart progressively becomes purified by the elimination of raga, dvesha, attachment and aversions. And that's how there is the udaya, the rising of bhakti in my heart. So what should I do, Swami? Discover a devotion for the Lord. Just be committed to what is right. And in the pure, as the heart becomes purified, the bhakti automatically manifests. Because that Shraddha, Bhakti, all of these virtues are already there in our heart. And they are not allowed to manifest only account of these ragadvesha, these obstacles. As the ragadvesha become attenuated, then this bhakti arises. Chaturvidaha bhajante mam janaha sukritanaha arjuna. So those who are devoted to or committed to performing virtuous actions, they become my bhaktas in course of time. Artho jignasu rartharthi jnani cha vardarshava. Then bhakti also progressively grows or becomes mature. In the beginning, the bhakti, devotion to Lord is to fulfill my self-centered purposes, to seek only relief from suffering to begin with, artha. Artharthi, to fulfill my desires, to attain the worldly gains. Jignasu, then that bhakti slowly matures. From tamoguna, the mind slowly turns to rajoguna. From that, it turns to sattva-guna. In the mind that enjoys sattva-guna, in that mind, the desire for knowledge automatically arises, jignasu. Jnani cha bhartarshava. The jignasa, the desire to know the Lord, ultimately culminates into knowing the Lord. It may take some time, but the desire will find its fulfillment. It will create in Gurukulam Puja Swami the necessary conditions of being able to reach a guru, get the upadesha, get the knowledge. Jnani cha bhardarshava. And that's how the bhakti, the devotion will culminate into jnanam, the knowledge of the Lord, as the very self. Here, the knowledge means knowing Lord or Ishvara as myself. In the beginning, that bhakti, the devotion is worshipping Ishvara as my Ishtadevata, as someone who is to be worshipped. I am the devotee, he is the Lord. In the beginning, the devotion does involve the duality of the devotee and the Lord. And it culminates into knowing the Lord as my own self. Because then Bhagavan becomes favorable to me. The bhakti, my devotion, my commitment also makes the Ishvara Bhagavan also as favorable to me. I invoke His grace. In the 10th chapter, Lord Krishna will say, Tesham satad yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Lord Krishna says, those who are worshipping purely out of preeti or devotion, dadami buddhi yogam tam yenama upayantite. Lord Krishna says, I impart them the knowledge. I give them the buddhi yoga by which they know me as their own self. Meaning that in this journey, the Lord is always with us. He will be unseen, but He is always with us. His grace is always with us. The bhakta, the devotee, keeps on invoking the grace of the Lord, which culminates into knowing the Lord and knowing the Lord as my own self. That's the culmination of the bhajan bhakti as the grace of Ishvara, culmination in the form of knowledge. Therefore, tesham jnani nityayukta eka bhaktir vishishyate. Lord Krishna said that all the devotees are great. Daraha eva sarvaite, all of them are great. They are all noble. But then the wise person, the bhakta, the jnani bhakta, meaning the devotee characterized by the knowledge or wisdom of non-duality, is the most exalted because he keeps no distance between himself and myself. Astita siyuktanam mamevanuttamam gatim. For this bhakta, all that he wants is Ishvara, Anuttamam Gatim. There is no gati or the goal so better than that, superior to that. For bhakta, Ishvara, Bhagavan is the most exalted gati, the most exalted end to be attained. Astika, and is committed. He is committed to worshipping the Lord and attaining the knowledge of the Lord as my own self. So you must note that even here also bhakti or devotion is presented as the means of knowledge of knowing the Lord as a self. Therefore, self-knowledge or knowing Lord as a self is presented as the culmination of devotion, as highest devotion. In Bhagavad Gita, in this chapter, Lord Krishna presents himself as the very self. Asthita sayuktatma mameva anuttamam gatim. Yuktatma, one whose mind is resolved, one mind is focused upon knowing the Ishvara as my own self. How does that arise, Swami? How is it that someone wants to know Ishvara as his own self? Generally speaking, people want to know Bhagavan or Ishvara as someone different from themselves, as an Ishta Devata, as someone who is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. But that very devotion culminates into creating a desire to know. That I realize that the culmination of devotion is when there is no distance or duality between the Bhakta and Bhagavan. To begin with, we worship Ishvara as different from ourselves, and there is a duality, a distance between the devotee and Ishvara. Ultimately, the distance or the duality is not acceptable to the Bhakta. Bhakta or the devotee cannot stand that distance. Therefore, he also wants to eliminate that distance. Therefore, ultimate culmination is to knowing Ishvara as my very self. So that is the kind of bhakti that is presented here. Bahunam jananamante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti. Vasudeva sarvam. Sarvam. What is Vasudeva? Aham Hari Sarvidam Jana. I'm Hari. All this is Janardana. What is Vasudeva? Vasudeva Sarvam. Sarvam. What is Vasudeva? What is the Ishvara? This is the culmination of the bhakti and culmination of knowledge. Bahunam Janmanamante, Lord Krishna says, as the culmination of the devotion or the pursuit of knowledge carried out over countless births. Jnanavan mam prapadyate, the wise person reaches me, knows me as Vasudeva Sarvam, that Vasudeva is everything. That's how he knows me. So that is the culmination of jnanam or the culmination of devotion. Because Lord Krishna is talking about bhaktas. In this verse is jnanavan mam prapadyate. That bhakta alone becomes jnanavan as the one who knows as Lord himself. Vasudeva Saramiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. That Mahatma, that high souled one, that noble souled one, Mahanatma, one whose Atma, the heart is very large. all-encompassing, all-inclusive. Mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvam. So this is the goal of the life that is present here by the Lord. The ultimate vision for the devotee or for the wise person, no distance remains with anything. Vasudeva Sarva means I am also Vasudeva. If Vasudeva is everything, means I am everything. I am the self of all. That is the total elimination of all the duality. How does that happen, Swamiji? Because duality, you are different, I am different. That's the reality of life. I know that you are there and I am here. We are different. How does the duality go away? I mean, does it, what happens? Nothing happens. That I am here and you are there is right in one way. That this body is here and that body is there, that is also right. That I am here and you are there is when we equate the body with the self. When I confine myself to this body, then I say that I am here and you are there. But in reality, just as space is not confined to a part, because of ignorance, the space may think that I am part space. When it comes to know its true nature, that I am space, which is itself of all the spaces. So this is the reality. What we think is wrong. Not that something happens. All that happens is that these notions born of ignorance go away. Right now also Vasudeva is all, that I am all. This is the reality even now. That what you essentially are is what I essentially am. Essentially you are nothing but consciousness. Essentially I am nothing but consciousness, called Vasudeva, consciousness. Satchidananda. That is what we are right now. Unfortunately, because of ignorance, we confine ourselves as body. And look upon ourselves as confined to the body, and look upon you as confined to that body, and thus you are different, I am different. It is by default, unfortunately, that we are born with that identification that I am the body. And then whatever is outside this body is different from me, and I am different from them. This is what is by default, by nature, by birth. So we have been thrown here with ignorance and made to struggle in our life. As long as ignorance is there, so long the duality is there, so long the division is there, so long the differences are there, so long raga-dveshas are there, so long the sadness, sorrow is there. So we are as though thrown in an ocean of sorrow. And then required to discover that there is no reason for us to feel sorrow because we are not what we take ourselves to be. That's the task or assignment that is given to us. Tough assignment. That's why Aitreya Upanishad says, having created all the devatas, the Lord dipped them into the ocean of ignorance. So having created, He merges us, pushes us into the ocean of ignorance. And so we are born with this ignorance which brings on false notions. So bahunam janmanam. This identification, the body is so strong, judging myself as the body is so habitual. and therefore feels so right that to overcome this habit and get established my essential nature that I am Brahman, I am consciousness, I am non-dual, I am Satchidananda. Lord Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante. As a result of effort made over countless lives, Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate, the wise person knows me. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Vasudeva is everything, I am everything, I am Vasudeva. Vasuschasu Deva Vasudeva. So is Vasu as well as Deva is Vasudeva. Vasati Sarvasmin. Vas means to dwell, no dwells, the self of all is Vasu. And his Deva is self-effulgent. So the self-effulgent consciousness, that is the self of all, is Vasudeva. Samahatma. So imagine what happens when, when this happens. It's not that it happens when, it's a process. Lord Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanamante, meaning that as a result of the effort carried out over a long time. So how many births? Well, we may already have spent many, many births. So we did not have to think that we have to go through many births. What is meant is not something that is just instantaneous, something that happens. It is a process of becoming more and more mature. Process of slowly abiding in this knowledge. Process of overcoming this wrong habit. And the notions born of wrong habit, overcoming. Because the habit of taking the body is so habitual, natural, looks like. So strong. And since a long time therefore, overcoming that also takes time. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So Lord Krishna presents that as the goal of the human life. Asthita Sayuktatma Mameva Anuttamangatim. This is accomplished by someone who is committed to this goal of Vasudeva as my only gati, only goal that I am seeking. This thing also comes as a result of Ishvara's grace, as a result of living life of virtue, as the living of, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti. The Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, Antara Shuddhi. The purification of mind. And the means of purifying mind is very simple. Punya karmana. All that you need to do is to perform right actions, virtuous actions. Dharmic actions. Be devoted to dharma, be devoted to virtue. And that has the capability of slowly making us free from the world of all these, impulses and negative tendencies. This is what the Vedas teaches us. Bhagavad Gita teaches us. That it is a location, Dvidanishta, it is a pursuit of, in two stages. First is called Karma Yoga, second is called Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga, performing karma, performing duty in the spirit of worship of Ishvara. That brings about Antahakana Shuddhi, purification of mind. What is meant by worshipping Ishvara is that I try not to worship my ego. Usually our actions are for gratification, self-gratification. for satisfying myself, satisfying my desires, satisfying ego. That is slowly replaced by satisfying each one. What is meant by offering my action to Ishvara is, instead of ego gratification, it is Ishvara's gratification that becomes mine. Agenda, primary agenda. And as the mind becomes freer from raga and dvesha, the bhakti arises. Having said that, from the verse 20, the subject matter all of a sudden changes. The Bhakti Yoga is done in 20 verses. Then all of a sudden the topic doesn't change really, but some altogether different kind of discussion begins. A question is asked, how come I do not have the devotion in my heart? How come I do not automatically worship Ishvara? We are all devotees. Each one of us is a devotee. We are all worshipping something that we consider as the most important in our life. Each one of us has a goal. And this is what we are devoted. So we are devoted to something that is most important to us in our life. When Ishvara becomes most important, then we become a devotee of Ishvara. Until then, we are devotees of something or the other. So the reason why people do not worship Vasudeva, worship Ishvara, worship limitless self, they worship some worldly ends. Because their viveka has not arisen as to what is worshipful, what am I seeking in my life? When I stop and inquire as to how come the desires are rising one after the other, even though countless desires are satisfied, what is the reason why the desires themselves never leave me? One desire is replaced by the other. Usually a person does not stop to think. And as a desire arises, he or she proceeds to satisfy the desire. Because something else is very important to that person. Ishvara is not important, some worldly end is important to that person. So in the verse 28, Lord Krishna says, let us read that verse. Kamaistaistairhritajnanaha prapadyantenya devataha tam tam niyamamasthaya Krityaniyataasvaya. Kamai taihi pratajnanaha. Pratajnana apahrita viveka vijnana. Taihi kamai. By those respective desires. As I said, the desires keep on arising one after the other. You all know that the more you satisfy the desire, more the desires are going to arise. Like trying to quench the fire by pouring butter in there, the fire becomes more demanding, so also. The mind becomes more and more demanding, more and more desires to satisfy. This is well known to everybody. Kamai, taihi, pratajnana, apahrita vijnana. If a desire arises in my mind, why do I entertain that desire? My mind says, I want a motor car, I want X, Y, Z, I want this kind of a thing. Why do I go along with that mind. What's the reason why that I proceed to fulfill the desire? Why? Jnana, because my Viveka Vijnana has been as though getting kidnapped. The Viveka has gone away, or Viveka has not taken place in my mind. As to what is it that I want? When a desire arises, you ask this basic question. Oh mind, what is it that you want by fulfilling the desire? You want a car, you want a house, you want heaven, you want something or the other, some worldly thing. What is that you are expecting to happen by fulfilling the desire? The mind is, I want happiness. If you ask one more question, where is that happiness? Is it an object of desire? Yes, it is. Because when I get the object of desire, I feel happy. I have a desire in my mind of a child may want a new bicycle. An adult may want a new motor car. A married person may want a new house. And so on and so forth. And when that desire is fulfilled, I do feel happy. So this conclusion that happiness comes from that object of desire seems to be all the time confirmed, because every time I get something that I like, I'm happy. I do not get it, I'm not happy. Just go anvay vyatireka. I'm happy when I get what I want. I'm not happy when I do not get what I want. Therefore, happiness comes from what I want. So that is how the human being has concluded that happiness comes from the object of desire. But then we never think that there is some other entity which is not taken into account. That this is what I wanted, I got, I became happy. So I conclude that happiness came from here. But there is someone else also involved, is it not so? Apart from the object of desire, who else is involved in the experience of happiness? In the experience of happiness, not only the object of happiness is involved, but who else is involved? The experiencer. So not only object of experience is involved when I feel happy, the experiencer also is involved. But I never take, because I always conclude that this experience is unhappy for me. My conclusion is that I am unhappy. I have to become happy. And this object will make me happy. And when that object comes, I do become happy also. And therefore, my conclusion that by nature I am unhappy, and I become happy when the object of desire comes, and therefore that conclusion never changes. Because if I am happy, then I should be happy even without this entity. But I am not. I am unhappy in absence of this, I become happy when this comes. So your natural conclusion is that my happiness came from this object. So we can't blame people for desiring things. Even though Lord Krishna sometimes laughs at these people. Here also, Lord Krishna will say, that they are unthinking people, non-discriminating people, apakruta jnana, those whose viveka or thinking has been robbed away. But if you do think, all this experience of happiness even though the objects of happiness keep on changing, there is one entity that remains unchanged, and that is the experiencer. Either my conclusion that happiness came from this object, or maybe it came from myself. But Swamiji, happiness came from myself. Then why do I want happiness anyway? If, as you say, happiness is within me, then why do I want happiness? I should feel happy all the time. Is it not so? See, this is the problem. They keep on telling me, you want happiness. If I'm happy, how come I don't feel it? I'm supposed to be happiness, and then I don't feel it. On the other hand, I feel that I'm unhappy, and that's the reason why I keep on desiring. So then Vedanta asks this question. Your conclusion that you are unhappy, is it the right conclusion? Apahrita jnana. Those vivek jnanam, those sense of discrimination has been robbed away. Have concluded that happiness comes from the object, that by essential nature I am unhappy. But Swamiji, that is what we seem to feel. Because in absence of this thing, I was unhappy. When this came, I became happy. So what's wrong? When this came and you became happy. So the question is, did you find the happiness entering from outside to inside you? When this thing came to you, you experienced this and you're happy. Do you feel that happiness comes from outside to you inside? Or do you find happiness welling up from within? This is to be observed. When I'm experiencing something that is desirable, I feel happy. Do I feel that the happiness has come from outside and has filled me up? Or the happiness has welled up from within me and filled me up? I find that happiness has not come from outside. I don't feel happiness entering me. If I pay attention, I'll find that happiness is welling up from within me. Meaning that there was some obstacle to happiness. Happiness has always been there, some obstacle, which obstructs the manifestation of happiness, and by coming of this thing, that obstacle goes away, happiness doesn't come. And therefore, happiness was there, we find welling up. So that also is something to be, we have to pay attention to. When I feel happy, does happiness come from outside? Or does it well up from within myself? It wells up from within myself. Then this thing becomes just nimitta, instrumental in removing some obstacle because of which the happiness then manifests. That's what Vedanta teaches and Vedanta draws our attention to. Never having thought about this, always continued with the conclusion happiness comes from objects and desiring them and fulfilling desire, desiring them, that's how life goes. Kamai, Tei, Pratajnana. So those whose discriminative thinking is robbed away by the false perception of this experience, false evaluation of this experience. So it will be worthwhile to pay attention to any experience of happiness that takes place now and spend a little time with it. Whether happiness came from outside or did it manifest from inside? Meaning that, did this object give me happiness or did this object simply remove the obstacle to that happiness. If I pay attention to that and I understand what the objects do, they simply remove the obstacles. They don't give happiness, they remove obstacle to happiness. Then my perception will change. Then Vedanta teaches, why do you depend upon this thing to remove the obstacle? Why don't you direct it? Why do you want to try to catch your ear this way? Why don't you stay there and go there? Why don't you do something to remove the obstacle? What is the obstacle? Vedanta teaches that the obstacle which obstructs the happiness is sadness. Not how do I? Raga and Dvesha. Or impulses. Kama, Krodha. It may be anger, it may be jealousy, it may be whatever. So these are the things that obstruct the manifestation of happiness. And therefore the right way is to try to remove them. Otherwise, if I depend upon this object, momentarily the cloud of Raga and Dvesha goes away, the object goes, the cloud comes back, and I'm stuck again. So why not I remove that cloud of Raga and Dvesha? That's what Vedanta teaches. That is called viveka or discrimination. For those who don't have that, which means most people, then I must have something desirable. And how do I get it? I can't get it. In those days, the Vedic times that Lord Krishna is talking about, people approach devatas. Today I may approach somebody else, some other local devata I may approach for fulfilling my desire. But I need resources anyway to fulfill the desires. Today also I need resources in terms of wealth, etc. to fulfill desires. Those days people depending upon the devatas to shower favor upon them, and therefore they perform the worshipping devatas. So this is called sakama karma. A karma, even act of worship, performed for the purpose of fulfilling my desire. It is not called worship. It's a contract. I do this for the devata, and devata in turn does that for me. I go to Tirupati and offer 11,000 rupees with the desire that my son should pass the examination. And Tirupati may do that also. So, prapadyante anya devataha. People worship variety of devatas for fulfilling those respective desires. Different devatas are known to fulfill different desires. Every devata has a spirit of, a field of jurisdiction, and within that devata can shower his or her grace upon me. So you worship Indra, you worship Varuna, you worship Agni, you worship Vayu, you worship Kuvera. Different devatas, they can give me variety of objects of desire. Prapadyante anya devataha. To fulfill the desire, they go to this variety of devatas who are known to favor me with different kinds of fulfilling the desires. Tam tam niyamasthaya prakritya niyatasvaya. The devatas, when you go there with a desire, then they also have a requirement that you must also fulfill certain formalities. You must also fulfill certain upacharas. You must also make certain presentations, also make certain gifts, and then only they can fulfill desires. Tam tam niyamasthaya prakritya niyatasvaya. These days we are not worshipping these devatas, these days worship other devatas. We may have Ishtadevata as Lord Krishna, as Lord Narayana, as Lord Shiva, as Devi, as Ganapati, as Anjaneya. Variety of Ishtadevtas are there. And I'm sure that you know that there is a slight different way of worshipping every devata. Devi you worship in a certain way, you make certain offerings, Anjaneya different way, different offerings. And Lord Shiva, different offerings. Is it not so? So Devi likes payasam, and Ganapati likes modakam, Lord Krishna likes butter and sugar, crystals. So if you want to please that devata, so if you go and give modakam to Lord Krishna, it doesn't work. Tam niyamastha. You must follow the niyama, the rules which said by that devata. As to how to worship, what to offer, how to offer. And you must follow them. If you want to fulfill your desire, sakama karma requires all the formalities to be taken care of. If you approach a devata with no desire, just to please the devata, then the formalities are not very important. But if you approach them for a specific purpose, then the upachara formalities become important. Then the devata is pleased when you have fulfilled all the formalities, and may not be pleased if you fail to perform those or fulfill those formalities. In fact, Mundaka Upanishad describes in great detail, what you may stand to lose if you don't make all right offerings at the right time to the right devatas, etc., right material, and then different results can come, negative results also can come. Tam niyamastaya prakritya niyatasva. But Swamiji, how come some people approach Lord Shiva, some other people worship Devi, some other people worship Lord Krishna, different people worship different devatas. What's the reason? Prakritya niyatasva. Because that kind of prakriti or the nature you inherited from the past. Many of us, if not all of us, are born with certain tendencies that we like certain devatas. Or you may be born and raised in a family where certain devatas are worshipped, and then we also have the same samskaras. Thus we have different devotees worshipping different devatas, following different upacharas, different formalities. Tam niyamasthaya prakritya niyatasvaya. We find some people out there, they like Lord Shiva. Some people like Lord Krishna or Narayana. It's totally opposite. How can you like Shiva? I don't understand. Narayana I can understand. Such beautiful garments and ornaments and so much luxury around and so something likable. What is a Lord Shiva? Nothing. He lives in cremation ground and he is only that bhasma also, ashes also from the funeral fire that is, applies on his body. Who can like that devata? But there are people who like that. Prakritya niyatasvaya. Some people go for luxuries and, some people go for austerities. Yo yam tam bhakta sadhyat namichari tasya charam saddham tamya vedamyam. Lord Krishna says that they don't come to me. They go to different devatas. I don't mind that. I don't interfere in their devotion. I do not interfere in their worship. In fact, whatever form or image they are worshipping, with Shraddha, I only firm up that Shraddha. tameva yadhami aham. Whatever Shraddha they have, that is what I in fact make more firm. Lord Krishna doesn't feel jealous. Hey, you're going to that devata, not coming to me. No, you going there, fine. I'm happy that you're worshipping somebody. And whatever Shraddha this devotee has, the Shraddha has become more firm. So that is called Ishvara. He's not jealous. You're going there and not coming to me. I firm up the Shraddha that they have for those devatas. All this is described. For what reason? Here is described the people who do not realize what it is that they want in life. And therefore, they simply satisfied with small things in life. They may not realize what potential life has to offer. And they were settled for small things, little things. And spend away their time in those little things. But Bhagavan, you know what he wants. This person is asking for a limit, but you know that he ultimately wants limit. Why don't you give him? He says, no, I don't give him. Because if I give him also, he will have no value. Earlier also in the 4th chapter, Lord Krishna said, Ye yatha ma prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. In whatever way the people approach me, in that way I fulfill their desire. I bless them in the manner in which they approach me. You will wonder that Lord Krishna is saying all this. Lord Krishna says they go to different devatas and then worship them. But why don't you do something about it? You know what they want, you know what they should have. They are immature, they do not know what they need in their life and they are asking for something which is not ultimately, what they want. Why don't you do something? Why don't you give them what they need? Lord Krishna says, no. I give them what they want. Because if I give them what they need, they will have no value. This story I have told you earlier also. When Lord Hiranyakashipu appeared and Lord Nrsimha appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu. Then Lord Nrsimha offered Prahlada. Hey Prahlada, come with me to Vaikuntha. That's the highest goal that one can have. Prahlada is very wise. He says, no, I can't come alone. If you let all my friends go with you, then I'll come. Nrsimha says, fine. But they should want to come. Sure. Who will not want to go to Vaikuntha? So he asks, go and ask them. So Prahlada went and asks, hey, come on now. Lord has come here. He has made an offer. All of us can go to Vaikuntha. Come on. Just says, what? Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha will go someday. Right now we need to play and we need to live life. You don't get these things in Vaikuntha. Nobody agreed to go with him to Vaikuntha. Because that value is not arisen. So Lord Krishna says that even if Lord Nrsimha gave them Vaikuntha, they won't accept it because they don't have value for that. And therefore Lord Krishna says, I give them what they want rather than what they should have. Hopefully someday the Viveka will arise in them, maturity will arise, and then they will ask for what they really should have. Until then, this goes on. It may take a number of lifetimes also. Swamiji is a long process, long for ourselves. For Ishvara with infinite time, it's not a long process. Whatever. And so, that's how this is described only as a contrast. In contrast to what was said earlier, Vasudeva Saraviti Samahatma Sudurlabha. That great devotee is very rare indeed who sees me as a self. To contrast those bhaktas with these people, the worldly people. So that the worldly people can see the aviveka, the non-discrimination in their life, and then can wake up. So this is how the discussion proceeds. We'll take a break for tea and meet at 11:30 and continue our discussion.
How are you? Yeah, I was watching.